Hello and welcome to the seventh episode of Chat OMP, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Pavlos Aristodemou from our Cyprus office. Pavlos, how are you?
Hi, William. Fine. And it's an absolute pleasure to be joining on this podcast. I'm sure we'll
Excellent,
have a great time.
excellent, excellent. You're right to be nice to me from the start so that I don't ask any difficult questions, Pavlos.
Yeah.
So obviously you and I know each other very well. You've managed to turn me into an Apollon AFC ultra.
Yes,
Uh,
that's true.
so, so, so I just wanted to kind of chat to you about your journey with Harneys, with Cyprus, and how you ended up being the managing partner of the Cyprus office.
So the story goes back to 2006, where Emily and Dimitris and myself decided that we would set up a small boutique firm in Cyprus.
Hmm.
All of us were working in different law firms. And for people who are listening to us and don't know, Emil and Dimitris were partners in this firm until like 3, 4 years ago. We set up a different style firm to what you would see in Cyprus. And back then, we would only advise on corporate tax law matters. We were quite successful in that. And we did a lot of finance work as well. I did very, very well at the time, a lot of work from Russia, CIS, Ukraine, all the.
Hmm.
So Cyprus was indeed a very important jurisdiction.
Hmm.
Now, what was important to note is the international structures dealing with investments in Europe or Russia would normally be routed through Cyprus. And Cyprus was at the time the third biggest investor in Russia and the CIS, simply
Hmm.
because all the holding companies
Yeah, yeah,
would would be in Cyprus. But what you would always notice is that on top you would have a BVI company. So we we had this success. We were approached by different law firms and by the Big Four to become their legal part, legal line in Cyprus, or other law firms to merge. But we didn't. We thought it didn't make sense or it wouldn't work out for different reasons.
yeah.
And then we were approached by Harneys, and we thought, okay, this makes great sense because what we have here is that we can have one firm advising on the structures we have on a daily
Hmm.
basis.
Hmm.
So you're a Russian lawyer or a Magic Circle firm, which basically had most of the market at the time, and they would go to one firm, and this firm will handle Cyprus and BVI, and that was fantastic. So we started as best friends, and after 1 year, we realized both sides that this was a great opportunity for both, and we have said that we merged, and then the Cyprus office at the time was like 8, 9 lawyers. It's now around 30.
Hmm.
So it shows that it went from strength to strength. And we had an agreement whereby Emily, Dimitris, and myself would be managing partners of this Cyprus office on a rotation basis.
Hmm.
So we're rotating every 2 years. But after some time, people suggested, Pavlos, why don't you take this over, maybe have better skills on this
Hmm.
thing, on the management side. And it has been so. And this is where we are today. And I have not had a single regret and had an absolutely beautiful journey so far.
My time spent in the Cyprus office, my takeaways are it is probably one of the most stylish offices I've ever been to, but it's also one of the most friendly offices I've ever been to. And I know you and I have kind of discussed that, how that is the culture in Cyprus. It's a very service-led culture whereby people try to make your life easier. And I think it's interesting as well that you, with Emily and Demetrius, recognized that's where your real sweet spot was in that management piece. And what does it mean to you as a kind of result of that, to be the managing partner? What do you think the real skills are of an effective managing partner?
Well, you do know because you're now managing
Yeah.
the firm globally, but it feels like you're a skipper on a boat,
Mm,
and your
mm.
decisions are very
It's a great
important.
analogy. It's a great analogy.
And how happy your crew is very much depends on how you treat the people and how you make them feel. It's not just about numbers. It's about people waking up in the morning and saying, I want to go to the office. I'm happy to be having this job and I like it. And it's my motto, like you have to have an office and a firm. People wishing to join and people who are in the firm or this office don't want to leave. Then you have a successful recipe. And I think to a larger extent, we have managed that because you see, if you compare the turnover of people, both in Cyprus, in analogy with other Cypriot offices, or globally, you will see we have so many people here for so many years. It means that we're getting something right.
Yeah, that's a really good benchmark, actually. One of the things I really noticed when I was in the Singapore office, which had real echoes of what you do in Cyprus, is that everybody sits down and has their lunch together. Not every day, but really, really regularly. But there's something lovely about that. It's almost like an act of communion of sitting around a table, breaking bread and talking to each other.
It's the time where everybody comes together and for a while you forget your deals and you go on to speak about your new shoes or how you had a good time the other day and what your plans are for the summer, all these things. And when you do have this on a daily basis, it gives you a different relationship with people. And imagine we have like three floors here, so otherwise people would not be able to see each other. But we do have that.
I've just about recovered from the 463 course dinner that yourself and Andrea prepared for me. Yeah, food and Cyprus, they go hand in hand.
We are foodies, William. We're foodies.
Oh, I know. And the food is absolutely wonderful. And I suppose just kind of looking back on your career and where you are now, what advice would you give to a junior lawyer now? What should they focus on? What should they think about if they want to progress their career?
I would say there are two different type of lawyers, and I think this is true, and you can see it from the day I started this job. And the one is the highly technical, skillful lawyers, and the other one are lawyers who would be more of rainmakers, bring business in because of their social skills, not because, okay, my work is so good that I've made a name out there and they're coming back to me. So you need to concentrate on what is best for you as a young lawyer and just do it again and again and again, and it will pay out eventually. And don't forget, this is for the young lawyers. Rome was not built in one day. You go out, you watch Suits, and you think you're going to come in, and it's going to be all Harvey Specter. And no, it's a bit different, but it can be equally rewarding. So I would say take time and do what you like, and don't forget nowadays, law and the business of law.
Yes,
you have to always bear in mind. Business of law is very important. You ask me, find 10 good lawyers to be technically prudent, I will find. You find 10 guys who will bring all the work in, not as easy,
They're not.
So you have to always bear that in mind.
And then you've obviously got people like us too who are both technically amazing and rainmakers, Pavlos, just to be clear. I think it's interesting the point you make as well about doing it again and again and again, that repeat point. And that was something that Henry Tucker talked about when he was on the podcast, talking about that consistency of just sometimes it is turning up. It's making sure you're at your desk, ready to go. So there's real overlaps there. So my final question that I pose to all the guests, you haven't told me who it's going to be, so I'm actually quite excited about this. I really hope it's an Everton footballer. Who would be your guest that you would have for that 463 course dinner in your house, alive or dead? Who's it going to be, Pavlos?
Okay, so it's going to be somebody who's dead, but before going there, I know a guy very famous on LinkedIn. Yeah, but I had dinner with him a few times, so it's not gonna be him.
You absolute charmer.
Yes,
You absolute charmer.
yes.
That's top marks for that. That's
So
not being edited out, by the way.
yeah,
That's staying in.
it would have to be one of the greatest philosophers of all time. It will have to be either Socrates, Plato, or Aristotle, because to have a conversation with the people that basically everything they have taught us about
Mm.
is
Yeah.
how we live our lives is very important. You can have the opportunity to ask these people questions and you leave there richer, richer in spirit, and you get a sentiment that I don't think that any other person can give you. I mean, you go with a famous person who is like in showbiz or, yes, okay, you're good at some, but these guys, they're basically influencing generations of humankind since the old times. So this is why I would go for one of these guys.
That's an excellent shout. And it's really interesting in London at the moment. You know, stoicism is something that's really, it's kind of like it's a hot topic. It was funny, I've seen on the tube this week 3 people reading Marcus Aurelius's
Oh
Meditations.
yes,
And it's just
of course.
amazing how, people from hundreds, thousands of years ago are still impacting how
Yes.
we think and work today.
So Marcus Aurelius would write to himself, and this is all about it. And then you would take this and say, okay, this has an impact on my life. What the
Yeah,
guy said, and it was back then, yes. And imagine going back to the ancient Greek philosophers, or to the modern one. I mean, there is an English one I like, Bernard Russell, which
yeah,
is I
yeah,
think is like more practical and it's very clever. So these guys, they give you something to think. I love it.
yeah. I wouldn't mind an invite to that. That sounds absolutely wonderful. Pavlos, thank you so much for making the time to do this. That was really, really good fun. And I think that our listenership of 6 or 7 people will absolutely really
Oh,
enjoy listening
enjoyed.
to that.
Yeah.
Pavlos, we will
Thank
talk
you very
soon.
much.
See ya.
Bye
Thanks.
bye. Bye bye. Ciao.